Woo! What's going on, guys? Zorm's Forum coming at you today with another video. Today's video, we're going to be talking about no other than Dan Campbell. What is it? We could just talk about this guy. Another day, another Dan Campbell video. And MCDC did turn into Dan Campbell before our very eyes on Thursday. And it's something that I actually predicted. Now, I'm making this video because I see that it's kind of like a little bit of the hot topic right now going on in Detroit Lions land. All the experts coming at him. Some guys backing him up, guys like Rex Ryan backing him up. You saw, who was it? Alex Smith backing him up. But guys like Teddy Bruschi kind of attacking him. Mike Green, Colin Cowherd, those type of guys kind of attacking him, saying, "Well, wait, what's the point?" Rob Parker being the troll he is, and I love what Sean Belizean from Woodward Sports had to say about that, about coming after him and telling everybody that Rob Parker hasn't said anything genuine in over 20 years, and he's a fraud. He's a clickbait king. That's exactly what Rob Parker is, saying that he's not as good as Brandon Staley was a better head coach, calling Dan Campbell a bad football coach, a 12-1 head coach, by the way, a bad football coach. But this was something that I kind of predicted on Thursday that would happen when I made my preview video for the Packer game. And like I said, I told my buddy when he came over for the first half, I told him, I go, expect some Dan Campbell moments. There's going to be one or two moments where the internet's going to explode. The fan base is going to explode. And if you go look at my preview, video, I nailed it, And I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm not. I don't do that. But I did nail that one pretty good because I thought there would be a couple moments in that Thursday night football game that was going to happen. And he did it twice. Where the internet blew up. Fan base blew up. He's been the talk of the town for the past 2-3 days. And they're kind of getting away from it now that it's Wednesday, but they're still chattering about it. So if you don't know, Campbell went for it 5 times last Thursday, just passed. Thursday night football game at Ford Field versus the Packers. Lions win that game 34-31, but he went for it 5 times. Successful with 4 of them. Now, 2 of those were touchdowns. 2 of those were touchdowns on 4th down, one to Jahmyr Gibbs and one to Tim Patrick, who had a nice coming out party. Now, the other one was just converted, and then the 4th one the one that didn't succeed was the one that he went for it on his 30-yard line, on our 30-yard line, and then the Packers ended up scoring, and they went up, I believe, 10 points at that point. 7 to 10 points, I forget what it was, but they went up. They scored a touchdown. They went up on us. And I think that's the one that really got people in arms. And I don't blame people for that one. I really don't. I thought that was a little bit reckless, going for it right there. We know the way Dan Campbell is. He's not going to change. He goes off feel. He doesn't go off, off really anything else, situation, obviously. But he will roll the dice. And even on the last one that they did, when it was 4th and inches, and they were in field goal range to go up ahead with 40-something seconds left in the game, he decided to go for it to ice the game, to ice it. Packers had no more timeouts. Ice it to 2 seconds, boom, Jake Bates, game-winning field goal. Monty runs for 6 yards, 7 yards, whatever it was, and it was a risky move. Goff falls down, gets the ball off to Montgomery anyways, and he gets the first down and then some. And that was ballsy too. There was a lot of guys out there saying, especially Teddy Bruschi, saying that he would love Dan Campbell on the field with him, but not on the sidelines as his coach. He says he's too much of a wild card. You don't know what you're getting every time. Going for it every single time. And no, he hasn't gone for it every single time, Teddy Bruschi. But it is Dan Campbell. He will take his shots when he can. Now, I personally think that because of the way our defense is, that's why we're going to see this a little bit more. Now, we're getting a little bit healthier. Hopefully some guys coming back this weekend, this Sunday against the Bills. We're not really going to get into that right now, but hopefully guys like Pascal, Levi, there's a couple other guys too. Hopefully Mosley, those type of guys, man. We got some D linemen coming back, 4 or 5 guys coming back. Will he change? There's still some key guys out, but I think it's a little bit of relief kind of off his shoulders that he's got some of these guys coming back. Now, this is going to be a team that we're facing, Buffalo, that is going to score. That's going to score a lot. I'm not getting into the preview right now, but I predict they're going to put some points on it. Josh Allen is playing superhuman. He has that team on his back. They put up 42 points last week against the Rams and lost the football game. So they're probably a little bit pissed off, but they're a juggernaut of an offense. So we're going to have to keep up with that offense. And I think with our offense, I think we can keep up with any offense in the NFL. And I put our offense against any defense. So you're going to see our offense starting to go for it a little bit more right now until some more guys start coming back into the mix. Now, like I said, man, this is a team that's gone for it 22 times this year. 22, we have converted 15 of them. 15 for 22, that's at a 68% success rate. That's in the green. I believe that's 9th in the NFL right now. So they're getting the job done. They're doing what they're supposed to do. Now, you do remember what happened last year. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit. Everybody wants to put the sole blame on Dan Campbell for last year's debacle in the NFC Championship game. I don't have an issue. I do not have an issue with people being upset about that, but you have to be a little bit more open-minded, and you have to really know what's going on around you. You can't just blame one guy for that debacle in that football game last year in the NFC Championship game. We were up 17 points. There was a chance for us to go up, I believe 17 or 20 points, whatever it was. And Campbell elected to go for it twice in the second half. I believe it was the second half. And, or the first. I don't remember. I can't even think right now. But he elected to not kick the field goal with Michael Badgley. I believe one of them was a 46-yarder. The other one was like a 48-yarder. One of those passes were dropped by Josh Reynolds. A 4th down right in his hands. He had to kind of go on his knees and kind of outstretch himself a little bit. He didn't have to dive. It was in his hands. Should have been caught. Josh Reynolds was sure-handed all year last year, and he dropped 2 balls in that NFC Championship game. One on a key 3rd down as well, too, right in his hands. But Amon-Ra dropped the ball that game, too. Laporta dropped the ball. There were some drops in that football game. But the whole thing is, you remember the past 2 games before that against the Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? 2 4th down calls. Craig Reynolds with a touchdown. Sam Laporta with a touchdown, hobbling against the Rams. That was the first one against the Rams. And then it was Craig Reynolds against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a 4th down and goal, and they scored a touchdown. Nobody wants to remember that, though. Everybody just wants to remember the failures. Everyone just wants to remember the failures, and that's not fair. Do you remember what he did last year versus the Chargers? And this one kind of threw me off because I don't remember this. I don't remember this one. I guess this happened. I do remember the game. We were playing the LA Chargers. We were up there in LA Chargers. I believe it was a 39-40. I believe it was a 41-38 game. Back and forth. Gibbs, Montgomery, whoever, man, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Goff, all having big games. Herbert having a huge game for the Chargers. Keenan Allen having a monstrous game for the Chargers too as well. And it came down to 4th down and 2 in that football game. And we were in field goal range. Riley Patterson was our guy. Riley Patterson was our field goal guy. And I believe it was a 40. What was it? It was, I know I got it written down here. It's okay, though. That's okay. Yeah, here it is right here. It was going to be a 26. It was on a 26-yard line, 4th and 2. So it would have been a 43 to 44 yard field goal attempt. Campbell went for it, and they hit Laporta for a 5 yard gain, making it like a 40 yard field, whatever it was, like a 40 yard field goal, 40 to 41 yard field goal. So we took some yards off for Riley Patterson, and he nails it, making a 41 yarder. Patterson hits it. The Lions won that football game. Do you guys remember that? Because I remember that football game. I kind of don't remember it being 4th and 2. But that just goes to show you what type of head coach he is. He's going to risk it for the biscuit, man. That's what he does. That's what he does, and he goes off field. So, this is a team that is going to make some mistakes. Of course, they'll make mistakes. Every team does. I don't understand the backlash. How do you attack a 12-1 coach? It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, how do you call a 12-1 coach bad? How do you call him bad? How do you compare him to Brandon Staley, who got fired from the Chargers for not winning? We're winning. A 68% success rate. And you're ripping on this guy. Like, you could criticize. That's fine. I mean, if you want to criticize some decisions, okay, I get it. But if you want to completely throw him under the bus and say he's a terrible coach, that you would never want to play for him, like Teddy Bruschi said, that he wouldn't want to. He'd love to play with him, but not play for him as a player because he's just too much of a wild card. It's wild to me. It's absolutely wild to me. It's just, I just feel like some of the takes are just completely out of whack. It doesn't make any sense to me. And there's some quotes from Dan Campbell, and we'll get into these quotes. He's never going to change, by the way. And I have said this 1,000 times over, and why should he be? He's been successful. So, I don't understand. But this is what he has to say about him going for it. And it's 2 long quotes. I try to get to it as fast as I can. I don't know. Well, here's the obvious. What happens when we don't get that? That's the obvious. Well, we're moving to the next house, meaning they're pretty much moving. Like it happened last year when his address got doxxed and people came after him after the San Francisco game. They went to his house and went out his property, and his daughter was home with her boyfriend. That's how ridiculous Lions fans are. So, said, you're moving. You're pretty much moving to the next house, Campbell said. That's why to each his own. There's plenty of philosophies at work in this league. And you can win a lot of games and doing it your way. And I just lean more this way. It doesn't mean that we're going to be this way, but that was for that game. So you're not going to do it all the time, but for that particular moment, that's how he was. And then he continues, I think everything that I've been through as a coach, a lot of those come in. Things that happen in New Orleans, certainly things that have happened here, Campbell said. And you think about how the game has gone, where you're at, where your guys are at, where you feel like you're best suited to finish the game out. Look, if you think you can win the game and you don't have to worry about anything else after that moment, I'm going to be drawn to that more times than not. So he's telling you right there that he's going to go for it if he feels that they can ice that game. It's not always going to play out like that, and it doesn't mean I'm always going to go for it in that situation. But we were under a yard, and I felt like that was the right thing to do in that moment. He's talking about the Green Bay game when it was 4th and inches, and that's what they did. And they iced the football game. And he even had guys like Nick Saban backing him up, saying, like the very next day going, I loved what he did. He goes, if you can always finish a game with your offense, finish it. He goes, if you don't want your defense back out, if your defense struggling, which they were big time in that football game in the second half. They were moving the ball up and down. Jacobs was running nice. Love looked a little bit more cleaner. His passes were a lot better. They were moving the ball. They were getting touchdowns. He didn't want to put his defense back out there. A makeshift defense, by the way. And Aaron Glenn's doing a phenomenal job for that. And Dan Campbell is giving all the credit in the world to his coaches and his players for what they've done. because they shut it down in that first half of that Packer game. Because if they didn't, there could have been a chance we would have lost that game, because they made a roaring comeback in the second half of that football game, the Packers did. So think about that. And just the way they were moving the ball, he didn't want to give the ball back, even with no timeouts. 40-something seconds left. To get 40, 50 yards in 40-something seconds is not a huge stretch. It's not impossible. It can be done easily. And in the way that these referees call pass interferences nowadays, it could have been like that. It could have been on one play. And Campbell did not want to go into overtime. He didn't want to go into overtime. He wanted to end it. Or possibly not lose it. So, doing it last year against the Chargers, being successful last year too. I believe he was at around 60% last year as well. He's 68.8% to be exact this year. He's getting the job done. We're 12-1. I don't understand the hate that this guy gets. It's like people are just waiting for him to fail. Especially this like fan base. Get on board. Like, you can't be that guy that doesn't get on board with this and then be happy when we get it and then say, I told you so, when we don't. You can't be that same guy. You have to be the same person. Listen to his players talk about this. Listen to guys like Jared Goff. Jared Goff was one of the guys, I think him and Goff were in that Green Bay Packer game. They were on the sidelines talking during the timeout. During the Lions had the timeout, whatever. They called their timeout, whatever they did. Goff pretty much apparently talked him into going for it on 4th and inches. Said, let's do it. Let's go for it. We got it. If you give the ball to Montgomery 8 out of 10 times, he's going to get you 1 yard. 8 out of 10 times. He's going to. So, is it risky? Yeah. But the risk is a little bit higher than it is for the fail rate. So I love what they did. And I love how Dan Campbell coaches. Now, if you want to put all that blame last year, like I said, look at that football game and you come tell me that Dan Campbell was the only reason why we lost. I have no issues with you guys putting him under the bus and saying, he's a part of it. If you want to, I have no issue with that, man. If you want to put it on him a little or as part of the reason, absolutely. 100%. But you got to look at everything. Gibbs fumble. Goff missing Gibbs in the end zone, wide open. Drops by Reynolds. Drops by Amon-Ra, Laporta. Not scoring a point in the second half. Defense giving up way too much. Fumbles. Lots of stuff, guys, happened in that football game except for, Dan Campbell didn't put out Michael Badgley. A guy that hasn't kicked a 40-plus yard field goal outdoors in a long time, apparently. And yes, he did hit a 54-yarder in the playoffs, indoors at Ford Field, nobody yelling. It's a different story. He didn't feel comfortable doing it outside. Should he have done it? Maybe they should have. But it's not the only reason why they lost that game. And we won this Green Bay game, which was huge because it pretty much took Green Bay out of the NFC North. They're done. They're not going to win the NFC North now. Now, they'll probably be playoffs, 100%. They'll get in as a wild card. But they're not going to win the NFC North now. That's between us and the Minnesota Vikings. So that's how big that game was. And that's how important that icing the game like that was in that situation. Is it ballsy? Hell yeah, it's ballsy. The man's got nuts the size of watermelons. I'm not going to dispute that. He does some things that are crazy, but most of the time it works. Most of the time it works, and that's all you want. Nothing in life is guaranteed. Nothing in life is guaranteed. Nothing in life is guaranteed. Death and taxes. That's it. That's it, man. That's it. And I have no issue with him rolling the dice. I love the way he coaches. He iced it. We won the football game. Jake Bates, boom, right down the middle. Split down the middle, by the way, Jake Bates. It made it even a little bit closer for the master. You know what I mean? Mr. Bates. So you love that situation. I love the way he does it. I think it's not justifiable on why he's getting attacked. It really makes no sense to me. I don't understand it. I don't understand it, man, because we're winning ball games. We're 12-1, and you got buffoons like Rob Parker, Teddy Bruschi, calling this guy, man, wild card. Even Rob Parker calling him a bad coach, and he's going to cost you again. Yeah, you just clickbaits. Rob Parker, he's a terrible football coach. He's a terrible coach. That's the way he talks. You know what I mean? He's going to cost you a football game again. Get out of here, man. Get out of town, Parker. There's a reason why, man, you've gotten run out of every city that you've ever been in. Every city that you ever worked, you got run out. You got run out of Detroit. Now they got you in a basement somewhere. Fox, I don't even know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. It's a podcast for Fox or whatever he's doing. Somebody threw him a bone. He's been talking junk for 2 decades. Nothing genuine has come out of his mouth. He's a fraud, just like Sean Belizean called him. You're a fraud. And that's what he is. And you got Colin Cowherd laughing, a guy that's probably never, ever stepped foot on a football field in his life, saying it's not worth the risk. It's not worth it. What are you doing? It doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? Colin Cowherd, go play tennis. Seriously. I don't want to hear it. And I love Rex Ryan backing him up too. Rex Ryan backing him up, telling you why he did it. He's like, look at the defense. That defense was gassed. It's makeshift. You got practice squad guys, second, third string guys. Our second and third string guys are getting hurt. It was practice squad guys on that defense, and they were starting to melt down. They did melt down in the second half. They played out of their minds in the first half. They're probably looking at each other in the locker room going, this is incredible how good we're playing. The second half was a whole different story, man. They got figured out. And that's going to happen. Aaron Glenn can only do so much. Aaron Glenn has come out and said it. I don't know how many more injuries that we can take on the defensive side of the football. He's like, I'm doing my damnedest. And kudos to him. He's doing a phenomenal job. He's doing a phenomenal job with what he has. 18 guys on IR, 13 of them are something are defensive players or something like that. 6 or 7 are starters on defense. Come on. It's rough. It's really rough on what's going on there. That's why you're going to see Dan Campbell go for it. And he told Jared Goff and the boys, apparently, Goff came out after that game and he said, hey, Dan told us, he goes, there's going to be some moments where we're probably going to go for it where, it's going to be a little bit out of whack. He's like, we're going to have to score touchdowns. You can't settle for field goals, not against the Packers. So expect it again against the Bills. Expect it again. It's going to happen again. Seriously, there's going to be a time where you're like, oh man, he's going for it at his own 40. He might not do it at the 30 again. That was a little bit rough, but he might do it at the 40. He might do it at the 40, man. You got to be careful with Josh Allen. But Josh Allen is going to score touchdowns. So you have to do it. You just have to do it. So I love the way Dan Campbell does it. I know I'm repeating myself over and over again, but I just love the way he does. I love the way he coaches. Get on board with them. No half-assing this. No, there's no backing them up and then saying, I told you so, when it doesn't happen, when it doesn't go your way. They'll be jumping up and down when they go for it on 4th and 3 and they get it. And then it's a 4th and 2, 2 series later, and then he doesn't get it. And you're like, he's a terrible football coach. I don't want to hear it. If I hear that from any of my buddies when I'm watching football, they're getting chopped in the neck. I'm going to chop them in the neck. I will. Chop, cook, chop, boom. Just like that, man. I will, because I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. You're either on board or you're off. That's it with Dan Campbell. I'm on board. Come on board with me. Let's go. But this is a long one, guys. This is almost 25 minutes ranting and raving. Got a little excited on this one. Appreciate you guys coming in, watching me talk about our Lions. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button at the bottom right. Don't forget to hit the notification bell up top. Don't forget to like, comment, share this out. Are you on board with Dan Campbell, the Danimal, MCDC? Let's go. Detroit Lions, grit, boom, bang. We got this, guys.